The email came in at 7:40 a.m. She had been expecting something. She had to, after all, a meeting with upper management had been scheduled for weeks. But this wasn't what she'd prepared for. Your services are no longer required. Effective immediately. No apology. No context. Just an abrupt statement that felt like a slap to the face. She stared at the screen, blinking, unsure whether the words were real or if her mind was playing tricks on her. Maya had built her career for over 8 years, working late nights, earning every promotion, gaining the trust of her colleagues. She had earned her place, deserved it. But now it was all gone. She placed the phone down slowly, the world outside the window moving on without her. A wave of anger surged inside her chest, but she knew better than to act on it. There would be no outbursts, no rash decisions. Instead, she simply let out a breath and stared at the blank screen in front of her. She was trying to process the storm of emotions inside her. She had always been resilient, but the shock of betrayal cut deeper than she expected. Maya had always been one to keep her emotions in check, at least in public. She knew that in her world, success was about the quiet strength, hard work, determination, and patience. Her career had started out humbly. She was a team player, always there for the group, the one who took the long shifts, the one who stayed late to make sure things went smoothly. For years, she had been the unsung hero of her department. But over time, Maya's hard work had begun to pay off. Promotions followed, and with them, responsibilities. She was good at her job, and people began to notice. Soon, she found herself managing a team, and the pressure increased. But Maya thrived. She had built her reputation on reliability and dedication. But now it all seemed pointless. The email sat in front of her like a reminder of how easily everything could be taken away. Maya thought back to her early days at the company. She had walked in as a newcomer, young and eager, with a drive to succeed. But in those early months, the corporate culture had been harsh. She'd learned quickly. Keeping her head down, earning trust step by step. Little by little, she had proven her worth. Yet in that moment, all of it seemed to evaporate into thin air. She thought about all the people who had made it to the top before her, cutting corners, playing the political game. And she wondered, had they won? Had they gotten there through the same methods she had? Through sweat and sacrifice? Or had they just known the right people? Maya's life had always been structured, predictable. Wake up early, go to the gym for a quick workout, head to the office. Everything she did had purpose, and every action was a small step towards the next goal. She was proud of the life she had built. Her apartment, though modest, was a space that reflected her hard work. She had a few close friends, a small circle she trusted. Work, though demanding, was where she found purpose. But when you climb that high, there's always the chance you'll fall, and Maya had unknowingly reached a point where she was now too big to ignore, but too small to matter. Her colleagues admired her, but from a distance. People respected her, but there was always the underlying tension. The politics of the office, the power plays. Maya had become part of that world, whether she liked it or not. She was aware of the subtle shifts. The people who were now being given more attention, the others who seemed to have inside knowledge of promotions and decisions. She had once been part of those conversations. Now, she felt excluded, like an afterthought. At first, she tried to ignore it. She told herself she was simply focused on her work, that she didn't need to play the games others were playing. But that kind of thinking only worked for so long. Soon, the cracks began to show. If stories like this matter to you, you can subscribe. It helps the channel stay consistent. And if you have a thought, you can leave it below. At first, Maya hadn't noticed the change. The subtle snubs, the lack of communication from her superiors, the absence of invitations to the high-stakes meetings. She had just assumed it was part of the ebb and flow of corporate life. But over time, those little things began to pile up. She noticed the subtle whispers in the hallway, the meetings where her presence was suddenly irrelevant. She had been the one who used to take charge in these situations, but now she was on the sidelines, watching as the new face of the company got the attention she had once earned. Her closest colleague, Jennifer, had been the first to notice. "You all right?" Jennifer asked one morning, her voice low. "You're different lately." A little more distant. Maya had shrugged it off, saying she was just tired. But in truth, she knew something was off. Something wasn't right. Her team had been performing well, but the higher-ups weren't noticing anymore. When she sent in her progress reports, there was no acknowledgement. When she followed up with emails, they went unanswered. And then there was Tom, her boss. He had always been supportive, but lately, even his communication felt strained. His emails were curt, and his meetings short. What had changed? What had she missed? Maya began to feel the slow burn of isolation. Her team would talk about upcoming projects, but her name was hardly ever mentioned. It felt as though someone else had taken her place. The signs were small at first, almost imperceptible. Emails not being responded to, key decisions being made without her input, the awkward silences when she spoke up during meetings. But the final straw came when Maya's name was left off the promotion list. It was something she had worked toward for years. Working late, hitting every target, making sure her team was successful. But this time, her name wasn't on the list. She stared at the email announcing the new promotions, her heart sinking. It wasn't that she had expected it. She had hoped for it. But when the reality hit, it felt like a punch to the gut. Her phone buzzed with congratulatory messages, but she couldn't bring herself to respond. She had worked so hard to get here, yet the moment she had been waiting for had passed without her. And that's when Maya realized she wasn't just being overlooked. She was being replaced. Her thoughts raced. Was it because she had been too quiet? Was she too focused on her own work and not enough on building relationships? Had she become invisible to the people who mattered? The betrayal hit hardest when the announcement came. It wasn't just the promotion she had been denied. It was everything that followed. Her boss, Tom, whom she had trusted for years, had been the one to send the email. Personal and cold. "I think it's time for you to move on," he wrote, offering her a severance package. There was no mention of her years of service, no mention of the late nights, the long weekends. Just a brief acknowledgement of her past contributions. In that moment, Maya understood. She had been sidelined and dismissed, without any regard for the loyalty she had shown. The fallout was swift. Maya's coworkers reached out to her, but it wasn't the same. There were awkward apologies, but nothing more. Some of her colleagues had already started moving on, making sure they were positioned for the new opportunities. Maya didn't respond to the messages. Instead, she spent days sitting at home, replaying the events in her mind. The company she had worked for, the people she had trusted, had discarded her without a second thought. It was a painful realization, but it also ignited something inside her. Maya wasn't one to sit back and let this happen. She could feel the rage simmering just beneath the surface, but instead of letting it consume her, she took a deep breath. She would make her move, but she wouldn't be rash. She would be patient. Instead of getting angry, Maya made a decision. She wouldn't confront the company head-on. She wouldn't burn any bridges, but she wasn't going to let this slide. She began to document everything. Meetings, decisions, emails. She spoke to former employees who had faced the same treatment, quietly gathering their stories too. She wasn't looking for a fight, but she wanted the truth to come out. Maya's resolve grew stronger. Every new piece of information she collected felt like a piece of the puzzle. She wasn't just angry at being let go. She was angry at the system. The unfairness of it all weighed heavily on her. Maya contacted journalists using anonymous sources to share what she had learned. She reached out to online forums where former employees could speak without fear. Slowly, the information began to trickle out, unnoticed at first. Then, a small news outlet picked up the story. Then another. The company was forced to respond, but their damage control only made things worse. The public began to demand answers. And finally, the truth was out. The company was forced to undergo an internal review. Some top executives were removed, and some decisions were overturned. The public outcry was loud, and the company's reputation suffered. But Maya, she remained silent. She didn't want the limelight. She didn't want recognition. She wanted accountability. Looking out her window, Maya felt the weight of the past few months lift. She hadn't won the battle she thought she would. But she had won something more, the truth. And in the end, that was enough. If you found this story interesting, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment with your thoughts.